From the moment he could remember, Aiden learned that love was something other people received. In his home, silence was much louder than words, and every single mistake became proof that he just wasn't enough. It was a cold, quiet world where affection was a foreign language. Imagine bringing home a drawing from school, your heart filled with a little bit of pride. But instead of it being hung on the fridge, it's torn in half because the colors are too messy. Or imagine your laughter, a pure expression of joy, being shushed with a sharp, "Be quiet." When tears came, he was told to grow up. Over time, the message was clear. So he didn't just stop expressing himself, he began to believe he didn't even deserve to exist. The psychology of a child who feels hated isn't just built on pain, it is built on a foundation of deep confusion. They spend their childhoods looking at other families, other kids, wondering, why them? Why is everyone else worthy of a hug, a smile, a kind word, but not me? Their young minds try to solve this impossible puzzle. They start to twist reality, creating a false narrative. If I just behave better, if I talk softer, if I get perfect grades, if I work harder, maybe then they'll finally love me. But that love never comes. And when it doesn't, they start to turn all that external hatred inward. It seeps into their soul until they become their own worst critic, their own abuser, echoing the very voices that once broke them. They learn to punish themselves before anyone else gets the chance. As Aiden grew into his teenage years, he became a ghost. He was quiet, excelled in school, but kept everyone at arm's length. He was a master of avoidance. Compliments didn't feel good, they felt like a trap, making him anxious and uncomfortable. Kindness from others wasn't a gift, it was suspicious. He couldn't trust it. When someone smiled at him, his brain would immediately whisper, "They don't mean it. It's a trick." When someone showed they cared, a louder voice would scream, "They'll leave soon. Everyone leaves." His heart, his entire nervous system, had been wired for rejection. It was trained to see love not as a comfort, but as an imminent danger. And that's the real tragedy of it all. Children who grow up feeling hated don't just fear others. They learn to fear hope itself. Hope is the most dangerous thing of all, because it's the one thing that can be taken away, proving once again that they were foolish to believe. But then one day, a small crack appeared in the wall he had built around himself. Aiden's art teacher, Mrs. Ray, was different. She noticed him. She saw him staying late after class, hunched over his sketchbook, pouring his silent world onto the page. His drawings weren't pretty. They were full of shadows, of broken faces, of hands reaching desperately for a sliver of light. Mrs. Ray didn't walk over and tell him to draw something happy. She didn't try to fix him or dismiss his pain. She looked at his work, looked at him, and said something that would change the course of his life. She simply said, "You feel deeply. That's a gift, not a curse." A gift, not a curse. For the first time in his entire life, someone had validated his feelings. Someone had seen the storm inside him and called it powerful, not broken. That single sentence didn't fix him overnight. There was no magical transformation, but it planted a tiny seed. It wasn't joy, not yet. It was something more fragile, more tentative, curiosity. A question started to form in his mind, a quiet, what if? Could I really be more than what they said I was? Is it possible that my feelings have value? That one moment of acceptance gave him permission to question the narrative he had been forced to believe for so long. Healing for someone who has felt unloved is never a quick or easy journey. It's a slow, painstaking process of unlearning. It's like having to teach yourself how to walk again after you've been told your legs are broken your whole life. But for the very first time, Aiden started to fight back against that relentless critical voice in his head. He began to do something radical. He started writing letters to his younger self. He wrote to the little boy who cried in his room, apologizing for all the times he blamed himself for not being loved. He wrote, "It wasn't your fault. You were just a child." With every word, he began to separate his own worth from the absence of love he experienced. He started to understand a profound truth. Being unloved says far more about the giver than it does about the receiver. Slowly, painstakingly, he began to rebuild his sense of worth, not from external validation, but from the inside out. He was finding his own foundation. The psychology of a child who feels hated is not about weakness. It is a masterclass in survival. It's the art of pretending to be invisible to the outside world while secretly carrying the force of a hurricane inside. It's about learning to navigate a world that feels hostile from the moment you enter it. But here's the incredible thing. When that internal storm finally breaks, when the healing begins and the light starts to get in, something beautiful and powerful happens. These individuals often discover a capacity for empathy that is deeper and more profound than most people will ever know. Because when you've been starved of love, you learn exactly what love is supposed to feel like. You understand its value, its power, and its necessity on a cellular level. You know what it feels like to be on the outside, so you make sure no one around you ever feels that way. And so, one day, years later, Aiden stood in front of a mirror. He wasn't looking for flaws. He wasn't searching for the approval of others in his reflection. He was looking at himself, truly seeing himself for the first time. And in the quiet of his own space, he whispered the words he had needed to hear his entire life, the words that finally set him free. You were never the problem. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this space with me today. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Your support means the world.